No
How's
worries.
training going anyway, man?
Yeah, really good, really good. I'm sort of like I'm always in the gym, so I started training as soon as I got back to Australia after my last fight. Even in hotel quarantine, I was already, training each morning in the room, and got back home and just like really, really motivated to get back to becoming world champion and improving as a fighter. It was, pretty tough loss to take, and just really made me motivated to get back home, get to the gym, improve, and get back to where I was. So I've been training really hard for the last how many months it's been. I've lost
Yeah,
track. But,
yeah,
as soon as we got word that I'm going to be fighting, we obviously ramped things up and brought in some really good sparring, and I'm just really excited to get back in the ring and finish off the year with a bang and get a good win on my record and boost me right back up the ratings so that 2022 can be a really good year.
yeah. I mean, it almost seems like the whole trilogy with Franco as well was just, I would say it was heavy emotionally, but even after that last fight, I shared your post fight, and you could see the emotions were riding high, and I guess anybody, in your position, there's always a lot on the line, especially, when it comes to title fights. But what was kind of, what was your mindset um, post that fight? Like, I know you kind of got back into the gym, but as you know, I guess many don't understand, but you got to still be motivated to kind of get out of bed, and for some it's quite easy, and for some there's a driving force behind it. What was your mindset like, post fight, and just kind of coming back home? And I'm sure, being with your family and things is probably the first priority, but how did you kind of refocus yourself to now the fight coming up against am I saying it right? Freund Saluda?
Yeah,
Foyland
Furlan,
Saluda? Yeah, yeah,
Furlan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What was your mindset like? How did you kind of refresh yourself to kind of get yourself back, back to kind of even just mentally, where you got to be?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it was like such a tough loss to go through because there's just so much on the line, like not just the world title, but everything that comes with that. And it would have opened up a win in that fight would have really opened up some huge doors for some really big fights for me after that. And also some really good paydays, which would have helped set up my family. And that's also extremely important for me. And, that was a really sort of, I don't want to say a big setback, but that's what it was really, and it was really tough to take. And I suppose I had two options: come home and you know dwell on that and just feel sorry for myself, or pick myself back up and work extremely hard to get back to that position. And boxing's all I've got. I don't have a plan B, so I need to make this work. So um, I just started training as soon as I got back to hotel quarantine, and just really determined to improve as a fighter and to get back to that level and get back to those big fights, and help set up my family. And I really feel like that loss has really, really like lit a fire inside of me and just made me so determined to become better. And I really feel like I've learned a lot from that experience, and the way I'm boxing at the moment in the gym. I really feel like I've improved a hell of a lot. So hopefully that shows on fight night on December 9. And this is sort of, I feel like this is the start of like a second phase in my career where I've learnt my lessons and I've gained a lot of experience fighting on the big stage. And now I feel like I'm going to use all that to become a better fighter and to get back to becoming world champion, hopefully as soon as possible in 2022.
It almost seems like you never really factor in, and someone like yourself will know, but just everything that comes with that big stage too, right? There's fighting, but there's also that fighting in probably the biggest stage, in massive title, world title fights. I guess that's something that you would have taken away in terms of just that whole experience in itself, right? Just how to, it's not to say that you didn't, it's not to say that you don't deal with it, but it's just, it's always something new, just outside of just the skill set and just in terms of just fight, training in the gym and going to the fights, but it's also that big stage. And when you get a taste for it and you kind of understand the ins and outs of it, I'm assuming that adds to the whole kind of the whole personnel of who you are as well, right? And knowing what to kind of expect as well, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like, there was some mistakes that I made in that, especially in that last fight, where I feel like I just wanted to win so badly that I didn't really get into my rhythm and didn't really settle into the fight. And, that's all part of, wanting to win so badly, but also, the nerves of that big occasion and such a big fight and so much on the line. And I feel like I've learned from that now, and I've been through that experience that I know now that I need to settle into the fight and to, just focus on what I'm doing and not put so much pressure on myself. And I feel like, these are all lessons that unfortunately I learned the hard way, but that lessons that I feel like I've learned a lot from, and going forward in my career, I feel like I'll be able to handle those situations a lot better.
I mean, it's just even just that fight alone with Franco, it almost seemed like it seemed like a roller coaster for us fans, because it's just, it seemed like it was playing out for so long too, from the no contest to obviously the third fight. It wasn't just kind of your typical, show up, fight for a title. It just a lot was behind the scenes in terms of, the story aspect of how it all kind of went about as well. So it almost seems like that third fight was so much more heavier than what it would be in any other occasion, just because of, I felt like how it all played out. But even to say, man, I know it doesn't feel the same as it would for yourself, but even as us boxing fans and Aussie fans, we were hurt. We were hurt to see that result too, and especially seeing a purse fight, that really got to me as well, because you could just see what it meant to you, as it does for many people. But I think we were right in it just as much. I know I can only speak for myself and a few others, but I know that it would definitely hurt all of us. Seeing that fight take place the way it did, but. It's exciting to see you back in the ring, though. By the end of the, I think it's December 10th or 11th, because there's 2 nights of fights. Is that right? Yeah. I keep getting confused. Yeah. Are you on the Paul Gallen undercard? Or are you on the night after? Are you?
No, so I'm on December 9, where I'll headline. I'm going to headline that show.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yes, that show is going to be live on Fox Sports around Australia, and also on ESPN in America. Nice. And then Gallen headlines the show the next night on the 10th of December, where that'll be on pay-per-view, and he'll headline that event. So it's going to be a good weekend, lots of good fights on both undercards as well. So it's going to be a really good weekend of boxing in Newcastle. So hopefully a lot of people make the trip up there for both events. And I'm just really looking forward to fighting again in Australia. I haven't fought Australia in over 2 years now, so I'm really pumped about that. And, it's obviously going to be great exposure being live on TV, and No Limit put on a really good show. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that as well. And finishing off the year on a good note, because, it's been a pretty rough journey the last sort of 12 to 18 months. And, if I had just finished this year with just one fight and that being a loss, I would have been, pretty disappointed or extremely disappointed. But now I've got the opportunity to finish off the year with a big win and, push myself right back into the ratings, and hopefully maybe somewhere around top 5 after this win, and then set up a really big year in 2022 where hopefully I'll get the opportunity to fight for a world title again.
It's crazy to think as well, because, just someone of your caliber, like obviously boxing, especially around Europe, as you would know, and even in the States, is so huge. And only of recent, and off the back of even No Limit and what they've been doing with their promotion, I think has been amazing, just in terms of bringing interest back to boxing, just the whole theatrics behind boxing as well. It must feel good, someone of your caliber to be able to come back home, and actually fight fight, in home soil, where boxing seems like it's starting to get to that place where, everyone's tuning in again, and got a really big interest just outside of kind of, just being a local scene thing. But it's good that there's also a stage where we get to kind of see some of our fighters who have gone overseas and fought the best of the best, but sometimes you don't have an eye on it as much as as you would being local, and being able to see sports take place, main event take place at home as well.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, a huge platform, and boxing's really, I feel like it's really like thriving at the moment here in Australia, and live on TV, which makes a big difference. So that's great. And also I feel like having not fought here in Australia for so long, you sort of feel like you're getting forgotten about a little bit. So I'm looking forward to putting on a really good performance, and, reminding the fans here in Australia of who I am and how good I can be. So
100%. I agree. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about kind of your early beginnings, man. How you kind of just from where you grew up to how kind of boxing became part of your life, and seems like part of your DNA now. How did that all come about?
So I grew up in sort of Melbourne, eastern suburbs, Croydon, Lilydale, Mooroolbark area. And I got a twin brother, obviously. Also a professional boxer, and also got an older brother. And growing up, we were really into our sports and really competitive, and always in the backyard, playing different sports, mainly football. Football was our passion, and we wanted to play AFL football for a living. That was our dream when we were younger, and had some boxing gloves at home, which I believe Santa got us for Christmas one year.
Yeah.
I think the only reason he got them for us is because we used to fight so much. We used to punch on in the backyard every single day, multiple times, and maybe he thought a bit of patting on our fists might
make it safe. Yeah.
So we used to put them on in the living room, mainly me and my brother Jason, and just go at it for hours, and just loved it. And then it wasn't until we were 13, I think we were, when we decided that we'd take up boxing just as fitness at that stage. We still wanted to play AFL. So during pre-season, we thought a good way for us to keep fit and get a bit of an edge on our competition would be to go down to the local boxing gym and just get really fit through boxing. And then after doing years of sort of juggling the two sports, and only really boxing like, maybe twice a week at that stage, so nothing too serious, but a few of the older guys at the club actually said to us that we do really well and we should start competing as amateur fighters. And it was pre-season at the time, so we weren't playing footy, so we thought, yeah, we'll have a go at this, and got off to a terrible start. I lost my first 7 fights, and I just hate losing in anything. I'm extremely competitive, so rather than quitting boxing, I thought, no, I need a win. So I quit playing football so that I could focus on boxing and try and turn that around, and started training every night of the week and taking it really serious and putting everything into boxing. And once I did that, the results really started to change, and I went on a big winning streak from there, and won national titles and got selected on the Australian team to go to the World Championships in 2009, which were in Milan. And then that was sort of the start. Once I made that and started traveling the world on the Australian team, that was it. I fell in love with the sport and just absolutely loved it, and just dedicated my life to it. And I was on the Australian team for many years, and went to over 20 different countries and represented Australia at 3 World Championships and 2 Commonwealth Games, and then started to sort of really find interest in the professional scene. A few of the guys at our gym that we're training at back home were turning professional, so we were going along to the professional fights, and I really got a bug for that. And even before the 2014 Commonwealth Games, I sort of knew that I wanted to turn professional. But then after coming home with a gold medal, I thought this is the perfect time to turn professional now, off the back of that gold medal, and to start my career as a professional fighter. And the rest is history.
Yeah. And was brother Jace, was he kind of in parallel with what you were doing? Were you guys kind of writing it out together, or was it something that, you know, he kind of watching you, or how did that all play out with both of you getting into the professional scene?
Yeah, so basically parallel the whole time. We both
Yeah.
represented Australia at the 2010 Commonwealth
Yeah,
Games.
that's right. Yeah.
But then, like there has been throughout our whole career, both amateur and professional, there's been highs and lows where, you know, moments where I won and he lost, or he won and I lost, and we, you know, one would make the team and one wouldn't. And unfortunately, he didn't make the team in 2014, which we all believe he should have, and I really believe he would have won a gold medal there as well. But unfortunately, he didn't make the team, and he then decided he was going to turn professional straight away. So it was pretty tough going to the Commonwealth Games again in 2014 without him being by my side like he was 4 years earlier. And you know, so he had to set a new goal, which was to turn professional, and he made his debut. I think it was I'd been home for about a week after the Commonwealth Games, and he had his debut and turned professional and got a good knockout win, and started his journey just before me. So once I got home, I was just so keen to get in the ring and start my journey as well. So I had my professional debut a few months later, and then since then we basically fought on the same shows for maybe 90% of our career. And you know, he'd headline one show, then I'd headline the next, and we'd just sort of juggle it. And you know, it was great that our supporters could come and watch us both fight on the same night, and we'd go through training camp together and push each other every day in training to make sure we're at our best. And you know, I really feel like having each other has been a huge positive for us, and has helped get us to the level we are, is because we push each other every day to get to new levels.
It's crazy because it was a perfect segue to my next question, I guess, or even just what I was going to say was that it must feel good to, obviously, you know, there's always a team, and you know, there's coaches, and there's people that ride the wave with you, but to have a brother and to have a twin brother that's you know, riding along even just through the good and the bad days, it's something probably beautiful to have by your side. You know, just someone you can kind of let it all out, you know, whatever emotions it is, whatever you're feeling, the highs and the lows, and to be able to share that with someone that not only is family, but also someone who probably understands what you're going through too, because you're both in the same, you know, you're in the same game, and you're going through the same hurdles. And then especially like it must relay really well back into training as well, because you know, especially with brothers, like I have an older brother, you're always making sure the other person's in check kind of thing, you know, and it's good to have that person just make sure, hey, like, you know, you're putting in the work kind of thing, and then vice versa, you know, you're looking at Jason, making sure that, you know, and it must be really good to have someone like that by your corner, to be able to be able to speak to just about anything, really.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's just so many positives from it. We're you know, we're so lucky to have each other to go through this journey, and to also help each other. Like early days when we would spar, we would just try and beat each other so bad that we'd end up wrestling on the floor and trying to take the gloves off, and our trainer would have to pull us apart. But these days we really use each other as like a tool to help each other. And you know, when we're sparring each other, we'll give each other advice like, I think you should do this, or, you know, don't do that, or I can see this when you do that. And, you know, he'll pick up things that I'm not doing at my best, and I'll, you know, pick up things that he could be doing better. And we just really help each other these days to become better, and realize that it's not each other we need to beat now, it's the rest of the world. And, you know, even having him in training to push you, because we are competitive. Like when we're doing our running sessions, we're trying to outdo each other, which makes us fitter, makes us better. And even having him in the corner on fight night, like he knows me so well, and you know, what I'm feeling, and what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I really feel like there's just so many positives of having each other. And as I said, I think that's why we've got to this level, is having each other to push each other and help each other every day.
It's not even, like you said, it's not even just the it's not even just the skill set, it's not even just the training aspect of it, but it's that emotional, that mental level of connection that, you know, that you may need even in fights and cornering, that kind of gets you, you know, gets you going, or, you know, gets you back on track. Or it's just good to have that person, you know, being able to say or do things that are gonna get the best out of you, because they know you not just as a training partner, but, you know, you're his twin brother. Like, there's nothing you can hide, you know what I mean? So I think that's, you know, I can definitely see how, you know, how beneficial that is. And it's actually something special. I don't know many that can share that, you know, in this, let alone in the same sport, and you know what I mean? And also fighting on the same night as well, majority of their careers. But what's what's training like for you? What's a kind of like, what's a typical week of training for yourself? You know, what are some of the you know, these days there's so many different things, just not, you know, it's not just hitting pads, you know, there's all these other things that people do. And you know, even outside of the ring, in terms of to prepare mentally, physically, and even just spiritually, you know, to get yourself aligned. You know, what's some of that detailed training that goes into your camp and leading up to fights?
Yeah, honestly, nothing too outside of the box or too exciting for me to tell
Yeah,
you. Like, I
just
believe
hard
we
work.
actually, yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
hard work, and I believe we do sort of have like an old school approach to our training, because I believe that these days too many people try and do too much cross training and
Strength and conditioning and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
like that, which I don't believe give you the most bang for your buck or give you that much of an advantage towards your boxing. So we box every morning, sparring Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And they're our main focus on those sessions. We put in really good hard sparring. We've got some great sparring partners in our gym all around our weight, and we bring other sparring partners in from interstate or even overseas when we can. And that is, I believe, that the most important part of training is good sparring. And then we do our sprints on Monday and Wednesday, and then another run on Friday and Saturday. And outside of that, it's boxing, pads, working out game plan, improving as a fighter, pads and bag, and your general boxing sessions. And outside of those sessions, it's recovery, hot and cold pools, massage, chiro, physio, as much
The
recovery as
whole
you can.
works. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the hot and cold's pretty interesting, isn't it? I've done it a few times. It's not a cruisy thing to do, but it's really good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really good. We've
yeah.
actually just got a hot and cold set up at our gym. So,
Oh, nice.
like, we got such a good setup where we are at the moment. And, you know,
Nice.
having the access to that, like, straight after sparring and straight after a heavy session is just so beneficial. And so I'll do that like 4 or 5 times a week. And, you know, you can only perform as good as you can recover. So you've got to get your body ready for that next session. So, although like that whole thing probably doesn't sound like much when you eat, sleep, train, repeat, recover, everything on top, it really is like it's a full-time job. Like, my whole day is just packed of just training, recovering, and where I can in between that, trying to spend time with my family. And yeah, it's a grind. Like, I'm pretty exhausted at the moment. I squeezed in a little nap before our
Did you? Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I know when I knew it was 2 weeks out, I was like, oh, I was like, man, like I wouldn't, yeah, like I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, I would understand as well, because you know, like I mean, I've done amateur boxing stuff, but I've been around a lot of professional athletes, and I know, you know, there's some days it's just it gets a bit much, you know. So no, I do really respect that, and you know, respect the fact that you're giving me a time, because I especially 2 weeks out, it'd be pretty tough. So but
this is all part of the game. And, you know, there's things like that I do at least a few times a week where I've got to squeeze this in. And then another aspect of our training is I've also got a mindset coach who we work with.
Beautiful. I would love to get into that, man. Yeah, that's kind of my bread and butter. I love hearing about it. So yeah, let me tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Richard Moloney, he's not related to me, actually.
It's funny you had to say that. I'm assuming a lot of people thought otherwise, that they thought he's probably related to you.
Just thinking I'm giving my older brother and my cousin a plug, but he's not technically related. Richard from Quality Mind Global has been a huge help with me, just preparing myself mentally, because especially over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, like it's been a real roller coaster ride of emotions. And,
did he come on recently? Sorry, has he jumped on recently or within the last?
After my first loss to Joshua Franco, over 18 months ago, 20 months ago or so now, and that was the first loss in my professional career. So I knew that I was going straight into the rematch with Franco after that fight, and we got connected actually through Barry Hall, who trains at our gym. And
nice.
I sort of knew that I needed to do everything possible to win that fight. And you know, your mental side of training and competing is just so important, and people probably don't realize that, you know, your brain, like, it's just like any other muscle in your body, and you need to train that to be at its best. And he's been a huge help. And I really feel like I've gone to a new level since working with him, and mentally just in a really good place, and came back to that second Franco fight in just such a good headspace, and so confident that I was going to win, even though I lost pretty badly in that first fight. And I was so on that night, which is so disappointing.
I know. Yeah, it really does. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, we were riding it, especially that one, just the way it all played out. I mean, it was just, it's not what you want to see. And it's just, I mean, it was frustrating for us as fans, let alone couldn't imagine what, you know, was going through your mind, you know, during all of that. But what are some of the without obviously comfortable to whatever you're willing to dive into, but what are some of the elements that are mindset? Because it's something that I've always come to understand and also respect, is that and, you know, I say this all the time, but there's a sense of physical presence if you don't know how to deal with your mind the right way. You know, when people say, oh, it's wearing me down, there's actually a sense of physical being that I feel like you don't realize you're carrying so much weight. And it's not the physical weight. It's not like being, you know, tired after a big training session or whatever it is. But sometimes when your mindset's not right, and whether, you know, sometimes when fatigue creeps in, or you know, or you're a bit tired, or when there's a different perspective or a different outlook, you can let unnecessary things kind of creep in, which adds unnecessary weight on yourself. You know, and I always find that a lot of it is, if your mind has clarity and a sense of understanding and a sense of a clear purpose or perspective, it seems to trickle down on everything else around you. And, you know, you find that, you know, you're training better, and it's not even a sense of you recovered well, but it's mentally you're in a different headspace. And I feel like you can see that in your training too. You know, with whatever it is, whether it's sprints or whatever it is, but if you come in with a good mindset, it just seems to just really be, you know, really spreads out on everything else, whether it's personal life, whether it's training, whether it's, you know, whether it's just your own well-being. But talk a little bit about what are some of the things that that he does help you with, you know, when you're training or leading up to fights, and just, you know, even just more than just leading up to fights, but just your everyday, the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep. I'm assuming he plays a big hand in it. So if you could share some of the things that you guys do work on.
You probably explain that better than what I can.
No. I love hearing it, man. I'm fascinated about it, and so that's why when you said it, I was so happy, because you know, I love to hear, you know, how people kind of you know, how that helps people, because I know for a fact that it genuinely does. And so it was just good to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, but basically, like what you said, it affects. I believe it's like it's an energy thing. When you're thinking positive and in a good headspace, you just feel like you have so much energy and everything feels easy and enjoyable. Whereas when you're in a negative headspace or thinking badly, then everything feels hard and you feel tired and sore, and everything your training just goes obviously downwards, and it's sort of like a spiral. So it's just about trying to keep yourself in that positive headspace. um Positive affirmations and things, and just logging things on my phone throughout the day, and just keeping yourself in that positive headspace. And if you do have a bad training session, in the past, if I'd have a bad sparring session, I'd kick myself about it for days, and then next session is terrible as well, and you just then the next session is bad, the next session is bad, and you just go on a downward spiral. Whereas now, if I do have a bad session, I've got an app where I can um, I don't know, I've lost the word, but basically, like, debunk that and just, push it to the side and deal with it, and find something, that I did badly, but also find something that I did good from that session, or something that can come good from that session, and then just push it to the side and move on, rather than dwelling on that and letting it affect the rest of the week's training. And it's just, a lot of it is through an app that he's got, the Quality Mind Global app, and it's just keeping myself in that positive headspace, and just, if you do have a bad session, finding some good from it, and just using that as a positive rather than a negative, and just improving it. I believe it helps in every area as well, not just with your training, like you said, but in the rest of your life, and in all areas that you put yourself in a good mood, and everything feels easy, and you feel energetic, and the opposite can be very bad. And I haven't had any struggles myself, like with mental health or anything like that, but after a big loss in such a big fight, things, it is pretty tough to go through. And some of the things he's taught me have definitely helped me to bounce back from those losses and to come back stronger, I believe.
It seems like, even just, it's almost like a system or process that you can, you can kind of rely on when, like you said, you're having a bad day, you had a bad training session. Sometimes looking at things or writing things down makes such a big difference, right? Yeah, it just changes your whole mindset. And it's just crazy. It's crazy as human beings, how we work. Like, you see something, you write it down, and you're having a bad day, you look at it, and the mindset changes, and all of a sudden, what seems like such a big hurdle, or what seems like such a big hill to climb seems like it's more than easily achievable, or you kind of find yourself on the other side, and it's just a distant memory, however you were feeling, or whatever issues were kind of playing out in your head. But you touched a little bit about your family. Talk a little bit about that motivation for you, and also, I guess, a broader aspect of it. Is there things that sometimes it's not so much a lack of motivation, but there are things that I know a lot of athletes and people in general just that do to keep themselves motivated. Whether it just be certain people within the world that they've kind of idolized or grew up, whether it's books, things like that. But what's kind of like your go to, other than obviously just being motivated to be the best boxer in the world, but are there things that you do things like obviously with family, but things outside of that kind of keeps driving you and motivating you to keep doing what you're doing?
Well, firstly, like, I already felt like I was extremely motivated person, and extremely motivated towards achieving my dream of becoming world champion, and so many others. But then when I had my son, I got a 2.5-year-old. His name's Lee, and once he sort of came on into my life, you then have another purpose and another reason to succeed in this game. Like I said, boxing's all I really know, and I don't have like a backup plan. So this is my career, and I'm 30 years old now. So I need to make this work to set up a good future for him, and to provide for him, and to, get us a house, and build a good future. So once he was here, then I feel like my motivation just went to a whole new level, in that I need to succeed in this game for him, and not just for myself and, for me, a dream that I have, but for him to provide a good life. And, that's something that really pushes me every day, when I am tired, or, maybe don't feel like training that day. Like, he gets me out of bed just thinking that I need to do this to provide a good future for him. And, during those tough sessions, I will think about him at times, and push harder. And, I feel like that's all the motivation I need to get me through whatever I need to go through. And, another thing that came to my mind when you were talking is just like my sponsors. I have a really good relationship with the people that have sponsored me and my brother. And, even just talking to them throughout the week, that really motivates me, because, these people are backing me and have put their faith in me, and they're sort of riding this dream with me for me to achieve my dream. And, they've financially supported us to be able to do this full time. And I'm so grateful for them, that I feel like I want to do it for them also, and do it for all the people that have helped me along the way. And, my team, my trainer and manager. And, there's so many other people that I'm also want to achieve greatness for, to thank them for everything they've done for me.
It seems like the moment it gets bigger than yourself, that's when it's the real deal, right? You realize that, hey, like, I'm assuming growing up, wanting to play footy, fighting your brothers, you don't think about these things. And then as it keeps going, your motivation just, kind of, it starts to become bigger than just you as a person, right? It's all these other people that are not only just invested in you, but they're riding it with you every step of the way as well. So and I guess nothing bigger than a motivation in having a baby boy as well, right? So I'm like 12 days since our first born. So he's 12 days old. Yeah, bro. So he's in the back. Yeah. Thanks, bro. Yeah. Last week. So that's why I messaged Paul. I was like, yo, I'm ready to get back to work next week. I'm like, that's what he was like. Oh yeah, Andrew's free. So I was like, let's get it done. So, but yeah, it's crazy, man. So, so I can completely understand that, man. What's diet like for you, bro? Are you pretty kind of detailed, or you someone just because you train so much it just kind of tends to burn off, or is there anything specific that you kind of do with your diet? Have you got nutritionists involved, or?
Yeah, so I've worked with like a lot of nutritionists over the years through my time at the Institute of Sport in Canberra as an amateur, and then as a professional, work with a few different people, but mainly Geordie, the fight dietitian.
Oh yeah, Geordie. Yeah.
So and sort of I basically like have learned a lot from him, and also done a lot of research in nutrition myself. I had my own personal training business for 8 years before boxing full time, so I've got a pretty good understanding of nutrition and what my body needs and how to cut weight now. And going to give another sponsored plug here, sorry mate, but Geordie put me on TikTok nutrition.
TikTok nutrition. Yeah.
So they provide all my meals throughout my camps, and even outside of camp. I love using them, because it just takes out any sort of thought process and so much time that I can use on other things.
Which is a big factor, isn't it? You don't realize how a big factor that is, not having to worry about what you're going to kind of eat, throughout the week.
Yeah, that's right. So not having to go to the shop and then think about what you're going to eat and prepare it, and trying to cook too when you got a 2.5-year-old hanging that they, eating them basically all year round, like, helps keep my weight in check, and I don't have to cut huge amounts of weight anymore, and I make the weight pretty comfortably. Like, super flyweight used to be a bit of a push for me, but now I feel like because I'm not putting on weight in between fights, it's much easier. And yeah, it's sort of, there's not much to it. I just eat the meals that they, that I order through them, and my weight stays pretty good, and I got energy to train. And it's only really the last week or two where I've got to make a few adjustments, and obviously
fewer calories and things like that. Yeah.
And as training tapers off closer to the fight, you got to restrict food a bit more, and then sort of manipulate your water in the last couple of days. But I'll make weight pretty comfortably thanks to TikTok.
Yeah. That's I guess that's the work of proper professionals, right? So yeah, I've had Geordie. I've had him on the podcast a few times. Most of his athletes. It's he's a wizard. I always love talking to him, and just kind of understanding, learning his philosophies. And I was actually telling him last time, I was like, it's crazy. I've been watching a lot of your athletes, and they're all tripping out at the amount of food they eat, and they're questioning whether they're going to make weight because, but he was like, he was just, he was, went without going too deep into it, but he was talking about energy expenditure and things like that. And just, like when we're not training, we're still doing things. And so it was really good. And I said it was really nice to see, because there's such a, as you would know more than many, like a stigma with cutting weight and how you got to starve yourself and things like that, right? And it's just good to see there's a different script. There's a different script with Geordie and his athletes, and that is, they're eating more than enough to fuel them for training and still making weight. And obviously that last couple of weeks gets harder, but I think in the broad scheme of things, like it's probably pretty tiny. Probably a lot of people used to starve themselves weeks and weeks before fights back in the day, I'd say, whereas now 2-3 weeks, you just got to, tough it up. But, you guys are built for it, right? So, but yeah, no,
Geordie is a wizard. And I learned so much through, and still communicate with him, but learned so much working with him, like really closely for quite a few fights. And definitely, like, I feel like I can eat more than what I used to. And people probably make it harder on themselves than it needs to be. And, if you've got a bit of knowledge and, learn from the right people, that you can actually eat quite a lot whilst losing weight. And yeah, you're right, that last week doesn't need to be as hard as people make it for themselves. With a bit of science and education behind it, you can, it's not easy. Like when I step on the scales, I'm not feeling great, that's for sure. But, from the things I've learned, especially from Geordie, like it definitely does make it a lot easier. And it's not something that I have to really stress about making weight and weigh myself 3 times a day, like, I'm maybe used to in the past. And if you can learn from people, and there's people out there definitely doing a terrible job of weight.
Yeah.
And it would affect their performance so badly. So get on to Geordie if you're having troubles.
Yeah, definitely. What are some of the I guess when you look back at your fights so far, I mean, what are some of the moments where you felt like that you really, really had to dig deep, to get you through these fights? And what's some of your thought processes during that time, when you're in that moment and that, hey, like I need to ramp it up? But I guess what is some of that self-talk that you do, and what are some of the thought process going in when you've had to kind of dig deep to kind of get yourself out of a situation you found yourself in, and to kind of get, and to achieve that result?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few times, throughout my career where you really had to push and dig deep, and probably most notably in the Franco fights. I mean, the first and the last. The second one was only 2 rounds, so there wasn't much to push there. But definitely the first and definitely the last fight, where I feel like it was sort of touch and go the whole time. I knew that I was in the fight, but maybe just behind. And there's a lot of sort of self-talk, and I was just trying to drive myself. And through some of the stuff through Richard, just like reaffirm with myself that I can win this fight and that I am good enough and better than Franco. That's what I'm telling myself throughout that time. And definitely times, especially like in the corner, just about to walk out to the later rounds of the fight, round 9, 10, 11, 12, there was times where I definitely did think about my son and think about what that win would have done and that I needed to do that for him. And it definitely drove me a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't get the job done on that night and didn't get the win, but there's those things, and especially my son, drive me a hell of a lot to push hard. And without him, I believe it probably wouldn't have been as close of a fight. If it was just me that I was fighting for, it would have been so easy just to I'm losing here. It's not my night, but I was pushing the whole time trying to win, and unfortunately I didn't get the job done, but I definitely was just pushing and pushing, gave it everything I had on that night, but unfortunately just didn't get it right. But going forward, I do feel like I learned a lot from that fight, and the best is yet to come, I believe.
I mean, moving forward to that and moving forward to your next fight, what's some of the, what have you kind of visioned for yourself over the next few years, and even just in general your future in boxing? But have you kind of, I mean, the goal is always to be world champion. What's kind of envisioned in the nearest future? Is it, did you want to kind of have a few fights in home soil before kind of getting the big kind of going overseas, or just is it a fight at a time at the moment for you, or what do you kind of vision for yourself by the time we have this conversation, maybe by the time you've decided to hang it up?
Well, ideally, in a perfect world, I'd love to have this fight on December 9 and get a really good win, put on a great performance, and I believe a win over Saluda, who was a former youth world champion and challenged for other world titles. I believe a win over him should push me quite high in the rankings. I'm still as high as number 6 with the WBA. But I believe the WBO is probably the best route and fastest route back for a world title for me. So I'm 12 with them. Saluda did fight for a WBO world title a few years ago. So I'm hoping a win over him pushes me sort of maybe top 5 in the WBO. And in an ideal situation, I'd love to get the call early in the new year to fight for the WBO world title. The current champion is a Japanese guy, Kazuto Ioka. He's a 4-weight world champion, a very good fighter, but someone who I'd love the opportunity to fight. And I'm hoping I get the opportunity to fight him as soon as possible after this fight. So if I could fight him early next year and get hold of a world title, then my plan and dream is to hold on to that title for many years to come, and even pick up unify titles and pick up, multiple world titles
along the way. Yeah.
Remain at the top of the super flyweight division. And even though I'm 30 years old now, I still feel like I'm just coming into my prime now. And the experience that I've learned, unfortunately I had to learn the hard way in a few fights and have 2 losses on my record now. I feel like I've learnt those things now. And I believe that I'm coming into like a second stage in my career, where this next stage is about becoming world champion and then holding it for a very long time, and taking over the super flyweight division and staying at the top for many years to come, and being, going down as one of the greatest Australian fighters of all time. That's something that is really important to me.
And hopefully you have some fights here too. So there's some big stadium fights, hopefully, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, I still want to fight over in America. That's where all the big shows are.
Yeah.
I do really want to continue to fight in Australia at least once a year, and to build a good fan base here and headline some huge events, and defend my world titles here in Australia. That's definitely extremely important to me.
That's awesome. Especially go and getting the business done there, get some world titles, and then bring those big world title fights here. It'll be amazing as boxing fans and fight fans in general, just to be able to share that experience. Man, kind of to close it off, I guess. You're someone I know who's probably faced a lot of adversity, continue to face a lot of adversity, as we spoke about, obviously with the Franco fights, and just mentally someone that has had to be very strong and one with themselves to keep going, and let alone pick yourself up and still have that motivation, like you said, to be world champion, multiple world champions, and stay at the top of your division. What's something that you can pass on to others that may find themselves in certain situations where they're questioning themselves, and also some gems that you can pass on to people in general from your experience so far? 30 is still young, man. You got such a I'm in my early 30s as well. It's you like you said, it's almost like you don't want to say that it sounds cliche like 2.0, but there is another. It's almost like a new door opening, right? But what is something you can share to the audience and to the people that are watching this, that that some valuable things that you've learned so far in your career and in life in general?
Well, I think the things that helped me is having a goal. You need to have a goal to work towards, that's going to motivate you to get out of bed each day and to chase that goal and to work hard. So set goals, write them down and really have them clear in your mind what you want to achieve. And that doesn't have to be in sport, that can be in anything in life. But I also believe that you need to start the day off right. So have a good morning routine. I think training first thing in the morning is so valuable, not just for an athlete, but for anyone. Just the feeling you get after training, the endorphins, and just what it does, how it sets you up for the rest of the day. I feel like, as I say, you win the morning, you win the day. And I think having a good morning routine where you put yourself in a positive mindset, and start off with a training session, put yourself into that really good mood, and have that clear goal, and then go out the rest of the day and chase it. Looking after yourself with what you eat, sleeping right, and looking after your body. I believe, when I'm in training camp and preparing for a fight is when I'm at my best and I feel my best. And I believe that's, the same for everybody, is when you're eating the right food, sleeping right, training hard, and have a goal in your mind, is when you feel your best and you are at your best as a person as well. So I believe those things that help, me and what I need to do for my job as a professional boxer are also the same things that can help so many other people that aren't professional athletes, but just in anything they want to achieve in life, and being the best version of themselves, is to follow those things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's no coincidence when you're at that prime fitness, feeling good. There's a reason. It's no coincidence the way you feel, right? You're essentially feeding, sleeping, and training right, and looking after yourself. So seems like it's like I said, it's consistency breeds success, right? If you do it over and over again, you're gonna, even if you fall short, you're gonna be so much more further than you were otherwise. So, but look, Andrew, I won't take too much of your time, brother. I know training's crazy, and I know you like to utilize your time as much as you can, but I really do appreciate you giving me your time. You're someone I've been wanting to talk to, and shout out to Paul Fitzy as well for making it happen. I really do appreciate it, man, and I have no doubt in my mind you're going to get back to where you're trying to go, and I'm excited to watch you December 9th as well. Put on a really good fight and represent Australia as well. And Man, I'm looking forward to more chats in the future, hopefully. And you know, next one will be probably hopefully in person with a nice belt right next to wrapped on either shoulder, maybe. But I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you do, and thank you for your time. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I know us fight fans and boxing fans are riding right behind you, brother. And can't wait to see you get back to that title fight and getting it done.
Nah, thank you, mate. My pleasure. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
It's been a good chat. And yeah, everyone tune in on December 9 and follow my journey going forward and getting back to becoming a two-time world champion. And I believe the best is yet to come. So yeah, appreciate everyone who follows my journey.
Definitely, man. Looking forward to it. Thanks, brother. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.